For today's video, I'm going to be helping you set up the Brother SE1900 so that you can start embroidering. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the video. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to install the little embroidering foot. Don't worry, I will be showing you how to do that. We want to basically remove this little foot right here. This is the little foot that normally you use when you're sewing, so we have to remove that for sure. And then we are going to be basically installing this little guy right here, which is basically the little foot that you would use to embroider. So first things first, let's go ahead and remove this guy. So the tool that you're going to want to use to remove the foot is either going to be this little guy right here. So to make this a little bit easier, you do want to raise up the foot essentially. And then in the back here, there's a little lever that you can basically raise the foot. And if you want to make this everything so much easier, feel free to basically remove the embroidery attachment or the sewing attachment. That way you can work easily in there. Let's actually get rid of this little guy here. This little foot, the J foot, it's what it's called. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. In the back here, on the little foot, there's this little black plastic thing back here that you can just kind of push and it drops that little thing there. I just kind of press on it. It has little ridges, so I pressed on it and it dropped it. And then let's go ahead and start unscrew it. So we're going to turn left and there we go. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and grab the embroidering attachment. Now that we have the embroidery attachment, let's get one thing clear. Let's make sure that we do install it correctly. And the way it's going to go, it's going to basically go in this way. Do you see this little thing right here? It's going to want to face that direction. So make sure when you put it on, it's going to be kind of like this. Bring it over like so. And at the same time, you kind of stick it through there. And it should be something like this. Then you want to basically start tightening this little guy here. So again, the way you want to put it in is basically with this little plastic thing that I showed you earlier facing you. This little thing kind of wraps around that little metal thing. Like so. Let me get a different angle. I see how this little thing kind of wraps around that. Let me go ahead and take it off one more time. Again, so the way you would install this guy essentially is sort of like this. This little thing kind of wraps around this little pole right here. And then this little thing right here is where the screw goes. So let's go ahead and install it one more time. Hopefully you can see that. So you bring it up here. Again, be very careful with this little thing here. Make sure that this right here essentially goes over that right here. Goes on top. Let me show you. Okay, you see how it's going over that little thing? Cool. Once you do that, you want to make sure it goes in here. And when it's in here, you kind of want to hold it in place and then start tightening that. And that's it.
Okay, so the next thing I do want to mention that I almost completely forgot about the setup is you want to make sure your embroidery machine has the correct needle sizes. Now these machines do take different types of needles essentially, and the kind that you want to have, it's basically going to be 75 over 11. That's the needle size that you want to get. So 75 over 11 is what you essentially want to get. So I'm going to show you how to replace the needle here. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but this needle has a flat edge on one side. So this flat edge needle is what we want to use to install onto our Brother machine. There are other machines that don't have this flat thing. Normally those tend to be multi-needle heads, but this one, for the single needle, they do have the flat head. So with that in mind, you basically want to place the needle in the same position, but you want the flat head to be facing away from you when you install this. You want, let's pretend that is facing, this direction is facing away from you. So you want to install the little flat section of the needle facing away from you. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and when you're placing the needle up there, again, you want to make sure that the flat edge of the needle is facing the opposite direction that you're looking at it. So again, you want to make sure that the flat edge is basically facing away from you when you're installing the needle, and that the round edge of the needle is facing you essentially. Now you're just gonna push it upwards, and then it's gonna basically get to a stopping point, and when it gets to that stopping point, you want to tighten it pretty well. So you can do it by hand just a little bit, and then you can tighten it pretty well on there. Make sure it's a good tight. You don't want to put too much force in it, but you also don't want to leave that needle loose either, okay? And then once that's on there, you've changed the needle as well.
The next thing that you want to do is basically take out this attachment here. This is super easy and simple. All you really have to do is find this little section here with your 2 fingers, and then you just want to pull back towards you, and that comes out. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to grab your embroidery attachment, and you just kind of want to slide it backwards into that little thing here. Make sure this aligns pretty good on it, and then just make sure it clicks. And there you have it. Now that you set up your Brother se1900, you are ready to start embroidering.